Hi everyone, I'm Tim Wilson. We're here at MDC Music Studios and this is Inside the Music. I'm here today with Josh Gordon and we're demoing the Line 6 HX Stomp. How you doing, Josh?
Good. How you doing, Tim?
I'm doing all right. So we're here in the studio today and we just want to talk about the amazing unit that the Line 6 HX Stomp is and how that relates to being a gigging guitarist and a studio recording guitarist. So tell us about your experience with the pedal so far. What have you been using it for?
Okay. We'll just give you a quick history. I'm old school, right? And I was pedals and tube amp guy for a long time. So summer of 2021, I took a chance with the Line 6 Pod Go, which is a great unit. And so I've had some success with that, and I thought, okay, this sounds pretty good. Finally, Line 6, and it sounds like the effects were real to my ears, and the convenience. I like the convenience. So then I discovered, through that HX Stomp, and I'm like, wow, that's a small box. I mean, I love the size of it because that'll just fit in a gig bag. But how does it sound? So you go on your YouTube and you go down the rabbit hole and you listen to it, and it's just like, okay, and then. What I was noticing, I guess during that time, in the end of 2021, when I was doing research on this, how a lot of Nashville session guys were have one of these on their board. So I was like, wow, I follow a lot of those cats, and it's like, if it's good enough for them, it's certainly going to be good enough for me, like a guy who just gigs around Ontario. And so I've incorporated it to, I've used it for gigs. Like I'll go back and forth with gear, right? Guitarists, we're always tone chasing, but lately I've kind of gotten back to digital world, and it's like I need convenience, like I'm not a spring chicken anymore, all right, and I don't want to haul like 45-pound amps anymore, even though they sound great. But I wouldn't use this if it didn't sound good. It sounds good, and the capabilities, the routing capabilities, constant updates, and the amount of effects you have, like I don't need to buy 30 amps. I have 100 plus at least in here, and different cab combinations. There's so much that you can do with this, and I do use it at home. I mean, sometimes I get the odd online session tracking job, and it's like just plop this in front of my Mac, dial in a tone, you're good to go. Right?
You can use it just as an interface to record.
Absolutely, it can be an interface itself. Like I had like a rack-mounted Scarlett. It's like I don't need that because you can power everything through here. I mean, you have all the outputs. Too bad we don't have a shot of it, but I mean, it has a left and right output, a left and right input. It has MIDI capabilities here on this side, so you can attach a MIDI controller to toggle through your presets. For my uses, like when I'm using it in a home studio, I just have a preset, and that's what I'm going to use for that part. And then if I have to layer another part for the song, well, then I switch the preset, right? But for live, I tend to use it as a stomp box, like in pedal board format.
Because there's all these different sort of modes that you can run something like an HX Stomp.
Absolutely. We'll take a look at that for sure.
So it's sounding like the biggest benefits of using something like an HX Stomp as a modern guitar player is the convenience of traveling to gigs with it, and also the reliability and readiness you might feel by going into a recording session.
Absolutely.
I think with some conventional pedal boards, I've often not had the right effect or tone that the artist that I've been playing for was looking for. But with something like an HX Stomp, you almost have an infinite library, or as much as you could possibly ever need, of tones and effects to be able to pull up in order to match what the artist you're getting hired to play for wants.
Absolutely, because I mean, it's too bad we don't have the editor up here, because they have a wonderful computer desktop editor, and like even just the drives, for example, you can get a Nobles, you get, of course, the Boss Super Overdrive, the DS1 distortion, you can get Big Muff Fuzz, you can get a Chandler Tube Drive, Tube Screamer, the King Analog Man King of Tone, like all these kind of pedals that. It's like, I don't know about you, but I definitely am not going to be forking out all this money. Like, can you even find a Klon Centaur? No, but you'll get one in here, right? And it's similar.
The Klon Centaur itself is probably twice the price of this alone.
Exactly, right? So it's got all the tools that And I've made this comment on one of my videos with the pod. It's like, this has everything you ever need, and somebody's like, well, how can you tell me what I need? I don't know what you need, of course,
Yeah.
but I mean, I'm never going to even use half of the features in this thing
Right.
because I
Yeah.
don't need it. But what I do need it for, like, as for the studio, like I said, just set it and forget it. You got your tones. You can also, you back up your stuff. You can save your files on a Google Drive or something. So it's like, say you're going to fly to Paris or something to do a session. It's like, well, you don't even need to bring this. You say you got this over at your studio. Great, get your files and download it in there.
Yeah, let's
Right,
talk about that
your
for a
tones,
second.
right?
So, as
So
like a session recording guitar player, you might be in a situation where you need to bring your files or your tone prints or whatever you want to call them, to show up for a session and be able to record for a certain artist. You don't even really need to bring this unit. You can
no,
just download the files, have them uploaded to a different HX Stomp that
yes,
might be somewhere across the world at a different studio, or your buddy's got an
yep,
HX Stomp. And that way you can get on the bus or get on the subway with no gear at all
yeah.
and show up to a session and record with all the tones that you were developing in your own home studio.
Absolutely. And
Yeah.
even depending on like how complex your signal chain is that you've created, you could even take tones from this and you could definitely, well, you could put it in a Helix
Yeah.
floor. Vice versa, you can take Helix floor files and put it in here, but because they have definitely like a few signal paths, depending on how the preset is created, it might not
Hmm.
translate here.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's that
Yeah.
the versatile and convenient factor for this. Like no, for live, a lot of people will be like, "Wow, there's only 3 buttons." Well, let's see if I can give you a view here
Sure.
of. Well, yeah, let's go to a preset I would use for live. Like, and I've prepared a couple of presets so you can hear, and I guess we can get to that.
Hmm.
Let's go to my first one.
Yeah. Let's get some music coming out of those speakers. Show us your clean tone,
Well,
as
okay.
is
Well, then I got to
classic.
go back to my other presets. Then let's do that. Then and then I'll show
Sure.
you my live because the live rig we would need an amplifier as well just
Hmm.
for. Okay, so let's go. Okay, so this would be like if I'm in the studio recording, and this is based on a Friedman. They
Hmm.
call it the placator. So that's a nice
Yeah, man.
Marshall-y sound, and you have tons of Marshalls. You have all that
Yeah, and you
stuff,
got a nice
man.
delay on that too. That's so great. Does the
Well,
tape
yeah,
delay?
and we can take a view here. See, now, and this is not a lot of buttons really when you think about it. And these are sturdy knobs, and you can do everything right up here. And you just change the view, and this will
Hmm.
tell you the signal chain.
Hmm.
And if I go right, well, I guess I'm going the wrong way. So like left to right, I guess I have a comp, a Veta comp, and then I have a prize drive. That's the noble. So I like
Hmm.
to combine the amp drive and a little subtle pedal drive, if you will.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
now we're going into the amp. And then to go through, like these are not the only parameters. You got left and right screens here. Like you got all the stuff that would be on the BE100 amp. And then here you can change the sag of the transformer, the bias of the tubes, and on all
Hmm.
that good stuff. And then if we go here, I'm using a 412 greenback cab again. And the beauty of it, and unfortunately we don't have the editor up here. This the cab engine is basically like you will have the speed, like you can have dual cabs. You can have a single cab or you can have dual cabs, and
Hmm.
that goes from here up to the Helix. Unfortunately, Podgo or Pod Express doesn't have that capability. But
Hmm.
what it is it'll have a picture of the speaker, and you can just take your mouse, and it's like you're moving a mic around, and you have a
Yeah.
choice of an SM57 or a 47 FET, whatever it is, condenser. Like I'm not
Hmm.
good with the technical stuff, or a Roy or ribbon mic. You can have these things. You
Yeah.
can pull the distance, and shapes your tone. Like and I
Right.
use my ears, but it's like if we had a real amp here and you were placing a mic and just moving it around. Same idea,
So
right?
you can have this virtual studio environment
Mm-hmm.
in almost any room, whether
Oh
you're
yeah.
recording at home or booking a session
Mm-hmm.
at like an in the box type of studio.
Oh
Like
yeah.
we have a couple of those rooms here,
Yeah.
where you might not necessarily be setting up a Marshall stack and
Yeah.
experimenting in real life with mic placement on cabs,
Yeah.
but you can do that in an affordable way in an in the box style studio
Oh yeah.
with virtually with an HX Stomp.
Absolutely. And you won't
Yeah.
disturb anybody. I mean, there's a headphone jack right here. You can do like, if you need to do a session at 1 in the morning
Hmm.
and your family's asleep, well, you can plug this in and it's like you're cranking
Hmm.
a Marshall stack in a
Yeah.
studio, right?
And the
And
best thing is too is then after you've done your recording
mhm.
session, you can bring that exact tone with that exact, simulated cab and mic placement and everything to your live gig.
Absolutely.
You don't have to worry about what equipment do I have and
Yeah.
what does the studio have and how are we going to coordinate me getting that tone that I got in the recording session exactly when I got the gig downtown later that night. It's you take your Helix and you go out into the world.
Oh yeah, and the only tweaking I might do because of the venue's acoustics, they do have I won't go through it right now, but they do have global settings. So which means I can take that, like you said, I can take this preset and not have to touch it. But let's say this room, it's a little too much reverb in it. Well, then you can take a global setting or whatever frequency. I need a little more 500 hertz or something. You can do that in the global settings, and it won't affect your preset. You can just tailor it a little more to the room that you're playing, and then you can just delete that and just set it back to default when you're done to your gig.
That's awesome,
right? And yeah, you want to hear another tone?
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah,
show us what you got.
Let's see now. Okay, this is I want to go to. Okay, I'm going the wrong way because I'm sitting.
So what mode are you in right now? Your preset mode?
This is kind of like a bank mode, okay? Because now to do your mode, like you would hit this page button. The view is going to either be here or it's going to be a detailed view, block by block, and then you'll have all your parameter descriptions down here. But here, this would be now. That's the beauty of it too. Nice tap tempo and a tuner, which I like to leave on, and then this toggles between
visual
your presets.
cue of what your tap tempo is.
Yeah, exactly. I more use it for the tuner, but you can toggle through presets here. If you go to the next mode, now it's like this is my stomp box mode, and I leave it in. And actually, this is going to be good for this preset. I usually play it like this. So right now, this is kind of like a Dumble-ish tone. It probably would sound better with a Strat. And then if I put it clean.
Right, yeah.
And then you can roll it down a bit. It should be pretty responsive. I probably rolled it down too far there. And then I have a little boost. If you need that. But I'll go back to the dirt. But and how I have this set up too, if I go here to the details. Okay, so again, I'm using two drives. This is a kinky boost, which is like an exotic EP booster going into compulsive drive. So that'd be like a full tone OCD. So those are stacked, and that's alternating here. Now, when I go to clean, going back to my view.
Well, to interject there, so a lot of the sounds, pedals, amp models are very directly modeled off of, dare I say, real world effects.
Oh yeah,
i.e. it's not just drive one, drive two. This is based off of a full tone OCD or a Klon Centaur or an Ibanez Tube Screamer in terms of pedals. So the drives that are inside an HX Stomp allow you to interact with this sort of lineage of guitar effects that came before it, not just this whole isolated universe.
Yeah, you get all those, but they have the legacy effects. So you can get all the old stuff that came in that old red jelly bean, the old pod that came out in 99 or 2000. And I actually saw a guy around not too far from your studio here, met Timothy's Pub years ago. He had one going into a Fender Deluxe reverb. It's like, man, that sounds good, and that's digital. But and that's going way back, right? It's like this is even come leaps and bounds from there.
Digital got really, really good in the last 5 years.
It has. It
started with Strymon, all their reverbs and stuff. When I think people started to think, oh my god,
the Strymon Iridium, that pedal, the amp thing, right? And it's like, I saw one of those and heard one of those. Like, that's a good idea because that could just go right on your pedal board. I don't need an amp.
Yeah, right? Totally. Yeah.
Some of us are, we're a little older where we kind of appreciate the air being pushed at our pants and feeling that. But to be honest, I'm not going to lie. I just turned 50 and I've been playing since I was 17. So do the math, right? Gigging, playing the clubs. So it's like my back can't take all in a big amp anymore.
Absolutely.
And and my latest concoction with this is basically I'm running this. I've tried FRFRs. I might go back to those, but I have a Yorkville small square NX10C discontinued wedge. It's a lot lighter than my Fender tube amp, which I love. I still love my Fender Hot Rod Deluxe, but I can carry it. It's literally like that size, and then this runs into it. and you just do your homework at home. You're right there, test it, and then so you're not farting around on the gig, and basically one trip from the car. I have a mic stand, I got the amp, this, and a couple of cables in a gig bag, and life is good.
Especially if you're living in an apartment these days,
Yes.
Getting up flights of stairs with amps and stuff can be.
I
I've
did
got a
that.
trolley thing where I stack an amp on
Yeah,
top
yeah,
of the
yeah.
guitar on top of the thing. Yeah.
When I was in my mid-20s, I had an 81 Fender Twin, and we didn't have an elevator. I was in a 3-flight walk-up, and I was on the top. So it's like, man, I knew back then. It's like, well, I don't think I'll be doing this for decades. I can do it now while I'm young, and then I didn't even think of this stuff at the time.
Yeah.
But this is great, and the switching capability. Just to quickly get back to this, limited with 3 switches. You can add an external. There is an external port here where you can either add a dual foot switch, a single foot switch, or a single foot switch and an expression pedal, so that you can get your wah. I'm not a big wah user, but there are.
You could even set up like an auto wah in this, right? So you don't even have to use the expression pedal.
That's right. And I got a preset for you with an auto filter on there. But what I'm trying to do right now is just I don't want to bring any. I don't even want to connect stuff except cable. So it's like, okay, how can I do this with 3 switches? And I want a tuner. I mean, I know clip-on tuners. I have a nice D'Addario one or a TC Electronic. I'm not gonna lie, and it's, not to start controversy, but I hate them. I hate how they look. They're great, but I don't. I think it ruins the nice beauty and aesthetic of the guitar. That's just me, and I'm sure there are others who might agree. Okay, but they are practical. But with some ingenuity, what I've set up here is like, okay, I have my drive on and off, but when I turn the drive on, also connected here is my chorus. So when the drive goes off, the chorus goes on, because I like having chorus with clean, but not necessarily with drive, because it sounds muddy to me. And you can do that. You can assign lots of things to different switches. So few things go on this, and then when it's off, then other things go off and on. And then if you need, like I said, a dual foot switch, I've had this set up with a dual foot switch where I've had drive, lead boost, delay, and chorus, also, and the tuner. So I had 5 switches, covered all my bar band needs. Because I haven't been yelled at for gigs where it's like, well, you didn't have that dotted chord or delay that the Edge had for that song, for the U2 song. It's like, no, I had delay and it was good enough. You know what I mean? Like, depends.
Yeah.
Depends on the nature of the gig, right?
And we've all played gigs in front of like arms folded, like like guitar like enthusiasts and stuff.
Well, it depends on your nature of your gig. Like if you're doing a theater show, I've did a theater show. Where was I last year? In Greensburg, Pennsylvania, with a Bob Seger tribute. And I used my Pod Go because that even still has. I could have used this. I just needed a couple more switches, and I needed, I guess, an expression pedal if there. But it did the job. It's still compact and very, very lightweight. And
did you fly to that gig?
No, I drove. That's a long drive.
I imagine that getting on a plane with this would be.
Well, that's another thing. For fly dates with this thing, you can stick it in the backpack, and you're obviously in your gig bag for sure. And even if you want to, like I said, what is a dual foot switch? The size of the palm of your hand? It's nothing. It's nothing to add to.
That's a carry-on. That's a personal item.
Oh yeah, you're sticking your dual foot switch in your pocket, right?
Yeah.
So it's I'll do another preset for you there.
Show us all the tones you got.
Yeah, I mean, I'm still building tones for this, but this is so the third one. Then am I going to go the right way or the wrong way here? Okay, this is like a clean tone, and I'm actually going to go back to stomp mode because this has an auto. They call it auto filter, auto wah. But I also have some chorus. So say if I wanted to switch between presets, like I would go through that first one with the placator, and then I would use this one. So that would, if I needed more switching capability, you could do the toggling of as we talked about earlier. You can switch between presets between the buttons. But here's my that's my auto wah. And it's almost like a talk box too. You can go. Almost.
Right on, yeah.
And then in this mode, because now I'm in stomp mode, say, okay, well, I want to keep it clean. I don't want that, but now I got my chorus, and let's see here. And that's a dimension chorus based off the Boss. I guess it's a old
Dimension
pedal.
C.
Something like that, yeah. I know Gary Moore used to favor those, and I like the sound of it, but that's just one of many. And this is one of the legacy effects, right? Yeah, do an adult chord.
Ooh, yeah. That's a fancy E
Yeah.
there.
There's some more.
So you can even play jazz on this.
Oh, you can. Yeah, you can play jazz with the HX Stomp. Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, yeah. You're
That's very cool.
251.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's really. I know there's a lot of proponents of the helix, and like depending on the nature of your show. Like I know you said your classic albums live, and something like that. This could do the job. You might want to go with the helix just because of routing. Because this, I know the helix has XLR, right?
It's like bigger, yeah.
And different, like you have quarter out, but you also have XLR, and maybe that's what's preferred by the sound technicians or whatnot. But definitely, this thing can do a bar gig.
Yeah, well, I think even it, like you mentioned, classic albums live, or your Bob Seger tribute band. Or like a Pete Seeger tribute band.
Yeah. Any tribute band you could cover.
Anything that you have like a designed set list that isn't going to change too much. Like you can set this into your scenes sort of mode.
Yeah.
And you can toggle per song to the next thing, and then you only have to push one button per song. And that I know a guy who uses he's a bass player actually, but he uses his HX Stomp in that way. Okay. Where he's not even like individually thinking about, oh, I got to turn off my envelope filter for the next song. It's just he hits next and he's on the next song.
Oh yeah. I've read a lot in not so I guess in Facebook groups, not forums, but people. That's how they set it up though. Like
and you can even change these. Have your guitar tech doing your switching off stage. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Like I said, you could have a MIDI controller if so you could be backstage doing that, or you can have it set. Like I said, so you could even have it set in this mode. This is now if I go to that's the previous preset now, right? So let's cycle through and let's hear how quick it is. Now just a little small hiccup there, but between songs, if you're like, okay, I'm gonna go to the next one. Okay, song's over. I'm gonna go to the next one. So you can have. Yeah, I've read about lots of people do that even with their bar bands. Like they got 40 songs for the night, and they have the presets all in the order in the banks. Because I think this has up to 42, 43 banks with 3 preset slots in each bank. So that's a lot. I mean, I don't even need that.
Yeah.
Right?
But I mean, for example, I play in a live karaoke band, and we've got a set list of about 300 songs that we know and people can choose from, and we never really know what's coming up next. But for me, in theory, I could build a set list that matched our repertoire with that band on the HX Stomp. And then whenever somebody came up and signed up to do a song with the karaoke band, I just pull up the name of that song and there's my tone for that song.
Absolutely.
Because what we're all doing every time is somebody calls up, oh, we're playing whatever song, we're all doing this tap dancing thing with all of our stomp boxes, thinking, okay, what tones do I need for this song? We got 10 seconds to figure it out. And it'd be so much easier.
Oh yeah,
with something like that.
Oh yeah, this is what I think another, I call it a safety feature maybe, is like you can tweak, like go into the individual stomp box and tweak, but like once you're out of that screen and you're in like a screen like this, you don't have the worry of like, say you've accidentally kicked one of your pedals and now you've changed one of the knobs on your analog pedal, like, oh no, I need it, because you see guys when they do those rig rundowns, they put like the duct tape over their pedals so that the knobs don't. You don't worry about that with this. And if something does get screwed up, well, it'll only, if you hit save, then it'll save. If something gets changed, just switch out of the preset, go back in, and it's back to where you had it, right?
And you're not going to blow any tubes or anything. Like there's no
No, I mean, I've played now 4 years, like not solid 4 years, every gig digital, but most of them digital, and none of them have failed. And that's the Line 6. But I have used others. I have used Quad Cortex. I've even used some cheap stuff like this company Sonic Cake, and they have something called the Matrobox. Just it sounded good too, but I mean, I've used all. I've used expensive ones, I've used cheap ones, and none of them have failed me. It's just because there's a gamut of them. Like you go on Amazon, you can find like Donner Arena is one of them. You can find this company Flamma does one. Anyways, Nuix. There's all kinds of ones, but to be honest, if you're really, I don't want to insult anyone by saying a hobbyist or weekend warrior, like guys, because I mean, this is not my full time. I'm a semi-pro. I part time. I play pretty much 3-4 times a month, so I need something reliable, right? So if you want to be a little more serious about it, like pony up the dough and get something like this,
Mm-hmm.
and not maybe the lower price ones. Not there's anything wrong with it, but because
Yeah,
these guys have
it'll
history,
save you in the long
reputation.
run.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like I think they came out first in 99, maybe 2000, I think, with that little pod bean or whatever it was. But I think the Line 6 guys were one of the first, if not the first,
Yeah.
dipping into this kind of modeler world. So
Yeah,
they have history.
I had a Behringer one as a
Yeah.
kid.
Okay.
Something it was I think it was called the XV amp or
Okay.
something like that.
Okay.
But that was the technology has come so far
Oh yeah.
since then.
That's
Yeah.
why I decided, because as I told you, I've said I'm an old school tube amp and pedal guy. And I still think that's the king, the
Hmm.
sound. But I, no, I don't have roadies taking my stuff to my bar gigs, right? So it's like, okay, what are you gonna do? Do you want convenience? What are we at now, at the 40th anniversary of the $100 gig, right? So like, I'm not getting paid anymore to bring my, all my gear, right? Right. So it's like,
That's
well,
I love that the 40th anniversary of the $100 gig.
right, like but you know what I'm
Yeah.
saying, it's like, well, with this thing, okay, this is not cheap, but with this thing, say I want a Soldano amp tonight. Oh, okay, I can get one. Hey, you know what, I want a Vox AC30 instead. I can get one. You know what I mean? Like, you
Yeah.
have tons of
And
choices.
beyond reasonable doubt
Yeah,
too. Yeah,
yeah.
like I think the thing with the HX Stomp and digital technology, especially in the last 5 years, is this is almost beyond human comprehension in terms
Hmm.
of being able to tell the difference between
Yeah,
something like this and a real original issue
I
AC30.
I
Like,
agree
yeah.
completely, and that's what I kind of, when I argue with,
Hmm.
talk with people about recording. They say, "Oh, Pro Tools is." Nobody knows what was used to record. When you hear a
Hmm.
song, nobody's going, "Oh, that was Pro Tools." No, you know what? Actually, that was Logic, or that was
Hmm.
Ableton. No, nobody
Is
knows.
it
It's how it sounds.
It's like Miles Davis quote or something where he says there's only two types of music. It's like good music and
Yeah,
bad music. There's only two types of tone, good
that's
tone and
right.
bad tone. That's
That's
it.
right.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's convincing, as you said. Like,
Yeah.
nobody's going to know unless they're seeing it. If you
Hmm.
played them a piece of recorded music, it's
Hmm.
getting hard to tell the difference. I mean, I'm not an audiophile purist. I still
Hmm.
think certain things, as I think we
Hmm.
talked about before we started shooting this, is drives. Drives I still find, okay, they're getting there. And I
Hmm.
know maybe that's one thing Line 6 might get into. I know they don't, is the profiling, like the capturing
The
of your
Kemper stuff.
pedals.
Yeah. Yeah.
And because I know the Tonex stuff is pretty popular, the IK Multimedia stuff, where you can
Hmm.
capture that. And yes, the Kemper Quad Cortex does the capturing as well.
Hmm.
But for me, it's like, well,
Well, you can use these in tandem
oh
with
yeah.
like a larger pedal board still.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, you can put this like a
Yeah.
player like Chris Buck from Cardinal Black,
Love them.
right?
Wow.
Okay,
Glad
I'm
you
a
know them.
fan of his too,
Yeah.
right? And he uses an HX Stomp XL, so it's like it's just a few more switches. But he's, as he
Yeah.
says in his videos, when he's talking about his rig, he's just using it for like delays and modulation and stuff. Because you can see his pedal board has got all the analog stuff, but
Yeah.
even he uses that stuff. He's actually designed presets for the Helix and the Podgo. He has
Hmm.
stuff like
Hmm.
that. So I mean, everybody's using them in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah, the last
And
thing I think is it's a
mhm,
huge safety net.
mhm,
I think in terms of backline, I can't tell you
mhm,
how many gigs that I've shown up to without like really knowing what
mhm.
was going to be there when I got there,
Yeah.
and being able to go straight into a PA with the HX Stomp or
Mhm.
any other device like this, or even being able to go straight into the board when you're
Yeah.
recording at a studio like ours here,
Mhm.
you're gonna be fine.
Oh yeah.
With a conventional pedal board, if there's no amp when you show up there, that the backline amp was promised to you, but it's not there, you're
E-
screwed. But if you
Exactly.
have an HX Stomp on your board anyways, you're oh, there's no amp. I'm fine. I'll
It-
just go straight into the PA.
exactly. And
Yeah.
I just to touch on that, I want to show you this preset. Now I won't
Yeah.
play it because I have the amp sim would be coming out of here, the send. This would actually from here be going to my amplifier. But just to show you guys
Hmm.
quickly
Hmm.
in the view, and this is another beauty of this, is having a split signal path. It's not necessarily like a dual path like a Helix, but
Hmm.
you can split it like I have here at some point. So I have, let's just say, some drives and the chorus. I have some effects here, and so this top line is going into my amp.
Yeah.
And so I
Yeah.
have two green dots. Those would be delays. So I have one delay going to my amp, and this is main out, which is here.
Hmm.
So then I've split it. After my chorus, I've put a split and put another signal path to come out of the send. Now
Hmm.
this red block is an amp and cab sim combined into one block, because you can do that. You can either have separate blocks for amps and cabs or combine them. It all comes down to a DSP, digital signal processing power.
Yeah.
Right. So, but in any case, as you're saying, like I can have something going to an amp, or maybe an FR with amp sims on board, and then have another feed going to the front of house. And if one thing blows, like, yeah, you can totally send all of this to front of house then if you have to. Or if your real amp blows, like you said, now, hey, this saves the day.
You're
You
good.
know, you're good to go. And this thing now, you know, you can feel it. It's getting it gets a little warm at times, but you know what? I just between my sets, I just shut it off. And that's the thing. You don't have to worry about, oh, I gotta wait for a few minutes for my amp to warm up, my tubes.
Yeah,
No,
right.
they're on and off, right?
Yeah, I've played a couple cold outdoor gigs. When,
yeah,
that's the thing. And you know, even
Yeah.
amps are susceptible to sounding completely different with the temperature of the room.
Yeah.
So all the settings you thought you had for your good tone for the show are gone with a tube amp. But you know, this isn't as susceptible to temperature.
Yeah, and I think the sound. I'll just go back to this is actually my favorite sound. Just to get another sound, but. I think it sounds pretty
good to me.
More than reasonable.
Yeah. the last thing I want to talk about is the aux in on this side.
Yeah.
I know as a guitar player, you know, session guys, live guys, guys that are coming into studios to record, they often need to learn some songs or play along with some tracks that they might be needing to record on. So I see you got an aux in here. What can we use that to put some auxiliary audio in it? Have you ever used it that way?
I never really delved into that, but I believe what that would be is definitely to hook up external, like your favorite. Say you have a favorite drive pedal, you don't want to use the drives here. That's probably more what it's for. And then what that is not like, you can obviously, I could put a pedal after this guitar and then go into the input here. But what using the aux in will be is now I can decide where my external drive is going to be in my signal chain. Because if I have it coming from the guitar into here, I can't decide. But use the aux in, then you get one of those little circles, and you can move it anywhere in the signal chain. Or you can have two pedals or whatnot, and then you can create a little loop. Yeah, exactly. You can create an effects loop. That's I believe what it's more for. And then again, it's an aux in send, right? And that's where, like that last thing I was showing you, the send is it's you can't change the level on it. Like here, it's just the signal that's going to go to front of house. Or I could choose to put that going through my real amplifier and just use my amps volume to control the level of it, right? So it just gives you another input output option, right? Because the Helix has the XLR, which this does not, because there's only, you know, it's only so much size. But what you do get, you got a headphone jack, you got MIDI, you got 2 quarter outs, you got 2 quarters in, you got an expression port, and you have the aux and send, right? So it's for the price that you're paying, which is, let's call it 1,000 Canadian, you're getting a lot. You're really getting a lot, and it's worth. I know it's not the cheapest thing, but what you're paying for is like, why buy a $200 modeler that's not going to have the capabilities? Because a lot of them, what the problem is, even with something like a Pod Go, is that I couldn't do what I wanted. Is like, if I want to have just effects only going to my real amp, and then having effects and sim going to front of house, you can't do that with the cheaper ones. They just don't have that dual signal splitting path. So that's why again, I'm going to be using this more. I mean, it's when you have so much gear, you know how it is, Tim, right? You're just like, I don't know what I'm going to use today or what I want, you know, what are my ears hearing? But I've been really impressed lately, just playing at home, running this into a PA speaker. I have, like I said, a Yorkville wedge, and it's like, you know what, this sounds pretty good. It's lightweight, it's convincing, and I did a gig in August with a modeler doing it that way, and it's like, yeah, I think I'm going to get back to that. You know, I'm not getting rid of my tube amps, keeping some pedals. You know, got a tube screamer. We all need one of those, and I got my Boss DD3 delay, which I love. But I'll put it on a nano board. But again, a nano board, I have one of those pedal tray nanos, as we talked about earlier, like the 14-inch. So this is still, I can put 2 of those on that, right? And then
there's your whole band.
You know, you can run that, right? So it's really, you know, all in all, I'm really happy I got it. And yeah, go to Reverb, man. Go to reverb.com, because I had one of these and I got rid of, you know, stupid. I buy and sell stuff too much, but I found one for like, it was like $700, you know, so you can get deals. And even if it's used, as long as it's not cracked or anything or whatever, scarred out. I mean,
Good to
these are
go.
built pretty solid,
Well,
like,
it seems like that's the path. You get yourself to reverb.com, you get
yeah,
yourself to Long McQuaid,
yeah,
you get yourself a Helix,
yeah,
and then you get yourself to the gig,
yeah.
and then you get yourself to MDC
There you
Studios
go.
to record some
There
music.
you go. And you can
And with
just,
that,
yeah.
I'll say this has been another episode of Inside the Music. I've been Tim Wilson, and this is Josh. Thanks for listening. This has been the HX Stomp from Line 6.